Which rookies have the best chance at leading their team in targets? We're talking about that in today's video. As always, give us a like and subscribe. We put out content all year long. And today, I wanted to make this video. It will be a shorter video, and it's about rookie receivers and which ones are likely or have a good chance at leading their team in targets. Now, of course, any rookie receiver technically has a chance because, injuries can happen and things like that. But these are assuming no injuries and things like that. And we're looking at, which ones have, 50% or better chance. I don't really have a specific number for it. You'll see my reasoning as we go through these players. But these are the rookies that I think could lead their team in targets. And this is important. It's important not only for redraft football, which obviously redraft, we want to find the rookies that are going to make an impact in 2024, and we don't care about anything besides 2024, but also for dynasty, because despite dynasty players, thinking ahead and thinking multiple years, we are still very reactionary. We're reactionary from a week-to-week basis, and we're very reactionary from a season-to-season basis. And with one of these rookies, doesn't lead their team in targets or does lead their team in targets, they have a better chance at moving up or down the rankings. So that's just the fact of the matter. Look at someone like JSN last year. He was the number one receiver in last year's draft for most people. And now in that draft class, he is at the bottom, right? Between Flowers, Addison, not Quentin Johnson, but between Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Puka Nacua, guys like that. JSN's the last on that list because he didn't lead his team in targets. So we'll start off here. Number one, of course, is Marvin Harrison Jr., who was drafted fourth overall to the Cardinals. And, everyone sees this one coming, right? We all kind of think there's a really, really good chance that Marvin Harrison Jr. leads the Cardinals in targets. Now, I don't think it's a lock as a lot of people do think because of Trey McBride. Now, if I had to put money on it, right, and I had even odds, I'd put it on Marvin Harrison Jr. But I wouldn't just ignore Trey McBride because Trey McBride was kind of a target hog last year once, he kind of took over and Zach Ertz left that team. And you just look at the games that Kyler Murray played with, Kyler Murray played from week 10 to week 18. And Trey McBride during that time in an 8-game stretch had 66 targets, right? So you do the math there. Trey McBride was getting over 8 targets a game and was on a 140 target pace. So I don't think that's a fluke. I think there's a good chance that Trey McBride is just one of the best tight ends in the NFL. So is it likely that Marvin Harrison leads his team in targets? Yes, but is it a guarantee? I don't think so. He definitely will lead the receivers in targets, though. And by the way, just because you don't lead your team in targets doesn't mean you're going to be bad for fantasy, right? You could still be second, maybe even third on the team in targets, but still have a good fantasy season. Obviously, it's just more likely if you do have a good season. Now, Malik Nabers is the next one here. He goes 106 to the Giants. And honestly, if I had to put money on any receiver leading their team in targets, rookie receiver, it would be Malik Nabers over Marvin Harrison Jr. He'd be number one for me because you just look at that team and the depth chart, it's Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson are the wide receivers 2 and 3. No one really after them. Jalen Hyatt, Allen Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins, Darren Waller's no longer there. It's Daniel Bellinger and Theo Johnson. Saquon Barkley is gone, a good pass catcher at the running back position, and it's Devin Singletary. So I'd put money on Malik Nabers being if I had to choose one rookie to lead their team in targets, it would be Malik Nabers. And I think it's a very, very good chance that he does, of course, unless he gets injured. Moving right along. We're already out of the first round. There are other first-round picks. I'll talk about the guys that, I'm going to skip here. But the next one on the list is actually Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman, I think, has a chance to lead the team in targets. And it's pretty simple here. I think we all agree. There's no alpha on the Bills right now. Stephon Diggs is gone. Gabe Davis is gone. They didn't really draft or bring in anyone to be that alpha. So it's kind of up in the air. Excuse me. It's kind of up in the air in terms of who's going to lead this team in targets. Now, I think most people would put their money on Keon Coleman. I'm a little bit more hesitant. One, I was a little bit lower on Keon Coleman compared to the other rookies, but I still think he's a solid player. But two, I don't think he's just going to come in and take over the Stephon Diggs role, which a lot of people I think are assuming. And I don't think you should try and make that assumption. I don't even know. There's a chance that Keon Coleman is not even second in this team in targets, right? It could be like Dalton Kincaid and then Curtis Samuel, who I think is a sneaky, under the radar player for fantasy in 2024. Guys like that, even Khalil Shakir, who has, flashed at times and has a pretty good target per route run rate. And then you got to throw in James Cook as well, who's a good pass catching running back, and he's going to get his. So, is there a good chance that Keon Coleman leads the Bills in targets? Yes, but I don't think it's as much of a guarantee as a lot of people are making it out to be. I think there's a chance that he's third on the team in targets. But the opportunity is there. Ladd McConkey, another second-round receiver. I think Ladd McConkey has a better chance than Keon Coleman to lead his team in targets. Now, again, is it a guarantee? No, but I would put him up there with like Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then potentially Ladd McConkey as like the player who has like the third best opportunity in terms of a rookie to lead their team in targets. Ladd McConkey, obviously going to the Chargers. You have a pretty ambiguous wide receiver room there with Josh Palmer, who's a nice player, but he's kind of better served as like your wide receiver 3. Quentin Johnston, who was a big bust last year, but can still turn things around. And that's kind of it for them. They have, deep threats in like DJ Shark and Darius Davis and other rookies and, Brendan Rice and Cornelius Johnson. But those guys are 7th round rookies, and then at the tight end position, they don't have a dominant tight end. They have solid tight ends in Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst, but no one that you would assume is going to command a huge target share. So really good chance. I probably would go Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then McConkey as the third rookie receiver to have the best chance at leading his team in targets. And even the running backs aren't, it's Gus Edwards, who's not a pass catching guy. Kamani Vidal, we don't know yet. He's a rookie. J.K. Dobbins coming off an injury. So next up, I have Jalen Polk. So the 3 receivers that went early in the second round in Keon Coleman, Ladd McConkey, and Jalen Polk. Of course, Jalen Polk was drafted to the Patriots 37th overall. So he was a top 40 pick, which is good draft capital. And again, it's just a case of, who are you really, really afraid of on the Patriots that you're guarantee will lead the team in targets? They have fine receivers, like good wide receiver 3s, Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas. Jalen Polk, though, is their wide receiver 3 according to the depth chart. And if he's just good, like a lot of people think he's going to be, like they drafted him to be, then he's going to lead this team in targets. So I'm not really, you can't really point to any of them. Even Hunter Henry at the tight end position, never been a big target hog at the tight end position. So Jalen Polk has a very good chance at leading this team in targets if he is good, right? If he's good. If he takes time, then it's going to be one of the other guys. Moving along here, this may surprise some people, but Roman Wilson to me has a decent chance at leading his team in targets. Now, is it as likely as Jalen Polk or Ladd McConkey or those guys? No, it's not. But the reason why I put him on this list is because go look at the depth chart for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, their wide receiver 2 right now is Van Jefferson, who is an okay receiver. But again, he's better served as a wide receiver 3 or 4. I personally think Roman Wilson is already stepping into that wide receiver 2 role. His style of play is kind of that little bit of a target hog, PPR type of player. I think that's how he's going to make his bread and butter in the NFL. Now, of course, George Pickens is there, but that's really the only competition. Maybe Pat Freiermuth, depending on how the offense is run. But really, it's Pickens who is the most likely player to lead the team in targets, right? But that's it. That's really it. And then I think, to me, it's Roman Wilson next up and maybe Pat Freiermuth, pretty close. And, George Pickens is a nice player. He's never been a big target hog. Never. In college and then in his first 2 years in the NFL, he really hasn't. 106 targets last year in 17 games played. That's just over 6 targets a game. So is it likely that Roman Wilson leads his team in targets? No, but I think there's a 50% chance, a 45% chance. I think there's a chance that he does get there. Troy Franklin, out of the same thing with in terms of Roman Wilson, the Steelers is Troy Franklin and the Broncos. Who are you really, really worried about on the Broncos that you say there's no way in hell Troy Franklin can lead this team in targets? And that there's no way in hell. Yeah, no one is the case here, right? Is the answer. Trying to find Denver Broncos, and I have there. Okay. Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims are their 1, 2, and 3 right now. Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, and Marvin Mims. That's their 1, 2, 3. What if Troy Franklin's just good? If he's good, he's going to lead this team in targets. Now, if he's good from day one, if he takes some time, he's a rookie, has to get going, then of course he's not. But if he's good from week one, like Keenan Allen in 2013, or players like that can come in even as 3rd or 4th round picks, if they're just good, they're going to lead that team in targets. I mean, I think Cortland Sutton led the Broncos in targets last year, and he had 90 in 16 games. So he was averaging about 5.5 targets a game. That's not a target hog. That is not a target hog. Josh Reynolds is not a target hog. Marvin Mims is not a target hog. So Troy Franklin, to me, has a decent chance. And we actually have one more player here, 4th rounder as well, and that's Javon Baker, who goes in the 4th round to the New England Patriots. And basically everything I said for Jalen Polk, repeated for Javon Baker. If Javon Baker's just really good from day one, he's going to lead this team in targets. And there's an outside chance that's true. There's no alpha on the Patriots. There's no Devontae Adams. There's no Puka Nacua. There's no Tyreek Hill, where you said, even if Javon Baker's good, he's not going to out-target this player. If Javon Baker is really good, just like Troy Franklin, just like Jalen Polk, he's going to out-target anyone else on the Patriots. So I give it a better odds to Jalen Polk because I just think he's a better prospect. But Javon Baker could be that guy. Now, to finish up here, just going over a couple of the names, the big names that we forgot or didn't mention, not forget, but we just didn't mention. Rome Odunze. If Keenan Allen and DJ Moore stay healthy, I don't see Rome Odunze leading this team in targets, right? I just don't. Not in year one. Brian Thomas, I kind of feel the same way. One, I don't think Brian Thomas is he's going to come in as a very good player. He's going to be good for that offense, but he's not going to come in as a big target hog. I just don't see that happening, not in year one. And you have guys like Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, not to mention Gabe Davis, but Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, who I think are going to be 1-2 on this team, and Travis Etienne, who is going to get his as well. Who are the other ones that I'm missing? 2024 NFL draft here. Xavier Worthy was another player I wanted to put on here. I just couldn't justify it right now. Now, if Rashee Rice is going to be suspended, then I may add him to this list because, you have Kelsey, who's getting older, who I think is the favorite. And then you have, after Kelsey, though, if no Rashee Rice is there, it's kind of some unknowns, right? You have Marquise Brown and then probably Xavier Worthy. So didn't put him on here because I think Rashee Rice, if he's not suspended, I don't think Xavier Worthy is going to lead this team in targets. But if he is, I may add him on here. Ricky Pearsall, we kind of all figure you have Ayuk, Kittle, and Deebo Samuel there. Ricky Pearsall's he's for 2025 more than anything. Xavier Legette, I mean, you could make the argument, but I just think with guys there's too many guys on that team that you can see getting targets, anywhere from, Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen. I mean, even Jonathan Mingo, if he develops into year two. Jatavian Sanders is a pretty good pass catching tight end. So Xavier Legette's one of those, he's probably on the fringe of this list. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I just don't give him better than a 50 or 40% chance. Adonai Mitchell. I know a lot of people might be thinking, what about Adonai Mitchell? I just don't see it with Adonai Mitchell. One, I'm a little bit lower on him than others, but also you have a true target hog in Indianapolis with Michael Pittman. And that's the difference because a lot of people will say, well, I put Roman Wilson on this list And you can make a case that Adonai Mitchell is going to be the wide receiver 2 or the second most targeted player. And I agree with that. But the difference is Michael Pittman is a target hog. And he has been in his career, not just like a 1-year thing. The guy's been a target hog, 130 targets, 141 targets, 156 targets last year. So the dude was on pace for over 160, 165 targets last year. Michael Pittman, he's a true target hog. And so that's why I don't put AD Mitchell on this list, but I do with Roman Wilson. And then other guys, Malachi Corley, Garrett Wilson's going to lead that team. Jermaine Burton is behind T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, Jalen McMillan. All these other guys I don't really see having a chance. So there you have it, guys. I think it's important to acknowledge this and to think about these things because, again, as much as we want to be thinking about the future in Dynasty, we are still very reactionary, and our rankings go up and down depending on how someone was year one. We've been spoiled by really good receivers in the past, and coming in year one and dominating that. We expect that from everyone. So, as always, again, if you enjoyed the video, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.